It is Monday, the 10th of September. My name is Gareth Evans. I'm going to be talking about a load of gaming news, everything that happened in the news pretty much over the weekend that you might have missed. What the hell Nintendo are doing with cloud saves. We've got Battlefield 5 filters are pretty dodgy. All your latest trailers and announcements. But first, Spider-Man has pretty much smashed God of War. Spider-Man is now the fastest selling game of 2018, beating out Far Cry, which was the previous best selling. Which is quite an achievement if you consider that Far Cry 5, unlike Spider-Man, launched on multiple platforms, with Spider-Man only available on the PlayStation 4. This also meant that the previous best-selling exclusive of the year, God of War, lost its title, as Spider-Man has reportedly sold twice as much as God of War. Unsurprisingly, Spider-Man is now also the fastest-selling Marvel game in history, beating out Lego Marvel Superheroes, although it didn't quite topple Batman Arkham Knight as the fastest selling superhero game. And while these sales figures are only for physical sales here in the UK, we can only assume that these sales figures are indicative of how the game has been selling in the rest of the world. So if sales figures are any indication of success, which they are, this game's really successful. I know it's only just a weekend worth of sales figures, but it also includes the pre-order numbers and everything that they get counted on as day one sales. And to be so far ahead of God of War, be double God of War, and that itself was a huge success. That only goes to show how well Spider-Man's done, and also I think it's indicative of how much of a more mass appeal that it's got. Like, it appeals to youngsters and, you know, old guys like myself. It seems like Spider-Man is there for everybody, whereas God of War is a little bit more mature, I'd say. Also goes to show that Metacritic isn't everything, because God of War's in like the mid-90s and Spider-Man's in the high 80s. So it's not all about the reviews when it comes to sales figures, that's for sure. And in more Spider-Man related news, what's being dubbed as the saddest ever video game Easter egg has seemingly been discovered. Back in May of this year, Tyler Schultz asked Insomniac Games on Twitter if he could add a proposal to his girlfriend into the game. Insomniac quickly replied to Tyler's request, saying, "Well, okay then, who are we to say no to love?" Insomniac Games kindly obliged by putting the words, "Maddie, will you marry me?" onto a theatre marquee in-game. However, it appears that this kind gesture from Insomniac has backfired unexpectedly. Tyler posted a now deleted video explaining that his relationship with Maddie had ended mere weeks before the game's release. Insomniac Games reached out to Tyler on Twitter asking if he'd like the sign changed in a patch. Initially, Tyler wanted to keep the sign, but later suggested changing it to the name of his grandmother who died from cancer, who Tyler credits as the reason he's so passionate about Spider-Man today. And this is where the story gets a little bit messy, because Tyler made an accusation that Maddie cheated on him with his brother, although that was later refuted by Maddie saying that they got together after that they broke up. You could say that this story has more twists and turns than your regular episode of Jeremy Kyle, although we are still waiting on the results of the lie detector and paternity blood tests, although maybe Insomniac can patch the results to those onto the theatre marquee. In yet more Spider-Man news, Insomniac's community director James Stevenson was interviewed by Fandom recently and had some nice things to say about working with Marvel. When asked about whether Insomniac would be up for working on another licensed game, Stevenson said that they would, and that working on a licensed game is, quote, different of course. You have other people involved who can tell you whether something is on brand or off brand, which is different for us than, say, working on a Ratchet and Clank. He then goes on to say that it was helpful having people from Marvel around, and that working with them drove them to be better than they can be when they're working on their own thing. And finally, in Spider-Man related news, as Kirk Hamilton from Kotaku pointed out on Twitter, Spider-Man changes between two different vocal takes depending on whether or not he's exerting himself. Lead writer for the game, John Paquette, chimed in with a tweet about this, saying, "So for those of you wondering if we recorded Spider-Man PS4 open world Spider dialogue twice, yes we did. One resting take and one exerted take. Programmers exposed a variable to WWise, allowing the game to switch between dialogue assets, depending on the player state." And this is the prime example of how much attention to detail that Insomniac put into this game. And you see pretty much unanimous praise for the game across the board. You don't see a lot of people criticising that for sure. And it's another PlayStation 4 exclusive title this year, which is done really well. And having played it myself over the weekend, it feels like a really well polished game. Obviously, there's question marks over whether DLC should have been included, because there's that whole they announced it before they should have thing. But I'm really enjoying it. How are you guys feeling about it? Are you positive? Have you picked it up? Have you not picked it up? Why haven't you picked it up? Let me know that and everything else down in the comments below. That was a lot of Spider-Man stuff. Whew, can we move on now, please? Let's do some nuggets or something, eh? First up, ever wondered what Doom 2016 looks like in third-person view? Well, you're in luck. It was announced that Civilization 6 is coming to the Nintendo Switch on October the 21st. The upcoming Call of Cthulhu got an hour-long gameplay video. A beta for Overkill's The Walking Dead was announced for PC, which will begin on the 9th of October. We got a user over on Twitter giving us the strongest indication yet that Halo 5 may be coming to PC. We got news that a mysterious game company, 2Kaio Games, was established and is led by a noted game creator, with many people speculating that that is Yoko Taro. We got news that Metro Exodus's length may be that of the two previous games combined, without a fetch quest in sight. And lastly, Bandai Namco registered a new European trademark for Katamari Damacy Reroll, which I'm sure excites quite a few people. Links for that and everything else that I've mentioned in the nuggets today will be down in the description of this video, so go and check them out. It is Monday, so if ever we need a dad joke, it's now, right? But let's check the Pretty Good Gaming Discord. Metal Shark's come out with a right cracking one here, right cracking it is. My neighbour came at me really aggressively, asking me if I knew anything about her underwear disappearing from her clothesline. I tell you, I nearly shat her pants. That's a good one. Next up, the Battlefield 5 beta went live last week, and I had a lot of people criticising the game, but not for what you might expect. Some beta testers reported that chat filter had been censoring certain phrases such as DLC, white man, and laggy. EA's community director Jeff Braddock said of the issue, "One of the new features we're working on is a profanity filter in-game to reduce toxicity. That being said, we have heard some complaints that the filter is blocking words that aren't profanity or shouldn't be blocked, like DLC, etc. Blocking out things like white man? I mean, why? DLC, in case criticism, I guess. Nobody's allowed to talk about DLC. Or laggy. You can't talk about lag in the game. That isn't reducing toxicity. That is just stopping people from being able to talk, right? I get that you want to reduce toxicity, EA, but that just doesn't seem... Is it DICE? Should we blame DICE this time? EA gets enough shit, do they? Don't EA get too much shit, guys? They get way too much shit, don't they? Way too much. I'll get lynched for that in the comments. In other news, Microsoft have been talking about why they're not concerned that Crackdown 3 won't be releasing until early next year. Xbox marketing head Aaron Greenberg told GamesIndustry.biz recently that the title would get lost in the mix owing to how many AAA titles are already scheduled for release in Q4 this year. Microsoft is instead putting a lot of weight into the upcoming release of Forza Horizon 4, with Greenberg saying, "Our expectation is that Forza Horizon 4 is going to be the biggest and best-selling Forza game that we've ever launched." During the interview, he was also keen to state that two Xbox console exclusive games which already released this year have surpassed expectation, saying, quote, "Both Sea of Thieves and State of Decay 2 were, for us, breakout hits of the spring. They exceeded what we expected them to do. Sea of Thieves has over 5 million players, State of Decay 2 has more than 3 million players. They both sold more than we expected and drove a lot of great engagement with Game Pass." So I guess these are the reasons why they're not bothered. They're not bothered about Crackdown 3 coming out at the end of the year. They would be swamped. They would be lost with all the other games coming out at the end of this year, because there's so many coming out. It's such a competitive time of year, and you think about the likes of Battlefield 5 already moving back a month to get away from Call of Duty and Red Dead Redemption 2. You can only speculate as to how Crackdown 3 would fare in that crowded market. You got to give Aaron Greenberg A for effort, right? Trying to big up what they're doing, because State of Decay and Sea of Thieves, yeah, exceeded our expectations. We got 5 million and 3 million players. That's Game Pass people as well. People like me who have subscribed to the Game Pass for a free trial period on the Game Pass, played State of Decay for a week and then gone off. I'm counted among them 5 million people, but I'm not really a player. I just trialed it with the free trial of the Game Pass back in the day. So how much those figures are fudged just for good PR is anybody's guess. I mean, you can be the judge of that. Next up, RockSteady, the company behind the Batman Arkham series, has posted a new job advertisement. The role is looking to help launch, quote, "a highly anticipated upcoming AAA title for next-gen consoles." And according to the listing, the studio is aiming for a 90+ Metacritic rating, with some of the criteria asking for, quote, "a broad knowledge of comics, novels, games, cinema, and popular culture relating to video games." It has been heavily rumoured that RockSteady are working on either a Superman game or a Justice League game. Just want to throw this one out to you guys. What game would you like to see from RockSteady? Let us know down in the comments. Next up, Nintendo Switch has come out and said that some Switch games do not support cloud saves to ensure fair play. Speaking to Game Informer, Nintendo said that cloud saves will not be available across all titles. Quote, "To ensure that save data cloud backups cannot be used to unfairly affect online multiplayer rankings, the feature will not be enabled in Splatoon 2. Nintendo expanded on this by mentioning how cloud saves could make make it possible to regain items players had traded to other players. Apparently there are a lot of other games that won't support the cloud save feature, like the upcoming Pokemon game, the FIFA 19, as well as Dark Souls. Seems a little bit sketchy since that everybody else, PlayStation and Xbox, can do this, right? But Nintendo can't. They can't do this cloud save thing without allowing people to cheat. Why that is, people are saying that is because the cloud saves, are saved on your local hardware, not on a server somewhere, not actually in the cloud, and that's where it leaves it open for manipulation and exploitation, I guess. So the question that's raised is, why is Nintendo doing this type of cloud save? Why don't you just do it like everybody else? Is it because maybe you're only paying £20 a year for the Nintendo online subscription as opposed to like 50 or 60 for the PlayStation and Xbox ones? Your guess is as good as mine, but it's just Nintendo all over, isn't it? Well done, Nintendo. Well done for screwing this one up. On your own games as well, Splatoon. My God. So that's it for your daily dose of gaming news. I'll be back again tomorrow at exactly the same time. Hit the bell if you want to be notified when that video goes live. I will see you then. Bye for now.